Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your viewing of A Capacity for Evil by Evan Snyder, who's here with us today. Yay! Hi, Evan.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah,
What
of
a
course.
cool opportunity this was for everybody involved. I'm so glad we got to feature so many people in the cast tonight and to have the opportunity to talk to you. We'd love, while people are coming to view this Q&A, we'd love to just hear some of the things that inspired you with a capacity for evil. And I believe that you had some like great accolades with the show.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky early on with this show. It won a competition in the opera world called the Frontiers Competition, which Fort Worth Opera holds every year. It's this showcase of new works as they're being written, scenes in progress from operas that are awaiting premieres or however.
How
And
cool.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity for me because um, it was sort of eye opening for the opera world because most of the people who win that are well established professional composers by the time they've won it, and I was a college student. Uh, which was nice, but it meant I was surrounded by a bunch of pros and talking about pro things, and it suddenly made my profession feel very professional, which was
Good.
great.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
always great to be surrounded by that next iteration in your career, to get to like just absorb from them and then also like learn the lingo on the spot and like be able to have access to things that you maybe hadn't quite thought of because that you were still in college or just hadn't quite evolved into yet. So that's really amazing.
yeah,
Yay.
it was a neat opportunity to work with the singers and the conductors and the pianists involved as well because it was the first situation I'd ever been put in where no one involved in the performance of it chose my music. They were all being paid to do it, and the music had been handed to them. And I was glad to see everybody was still very excited about the piece. Nobody was, oh, I got saddled with this schmuck's capacity for evil, um, uh, but it was a cool opportunity for me to see how unbiased people reacted to the piece, and how they performed it. So that was cool.
Awesome. Did in the live performance, we had a little time for you and John to talk about how the his character was written for his voice type. Did the tenor at Fort Worth have a problem with the sustaining that tessitura?
Yeah, because it's no laugh.
No jokes.
Sorry, lost you for just
Oh,
a second.
it's
Am I
okay.
back?
Welcome back. Yep, you're back.
Okay. Uh, oh, I don't hear. Let me just make sure sound is set up. Say something,
Sure.
Danielle.
Hello, Evan. Can you hear me now? Cool.
All right.
We
Well, I
are
can't hear you right now, but
cool. We
um,
will give Evan just 1 second to deal with some tech stuff. While Evan is dealing with tech stuff, I just wanted to welcome you back and hopefully you were able to be with us for the live performance of John and Jillian and the incredible performance that they did with their son Roman. Um, when they brought this project to me, it was like so intriguing, right? Because I don't know of any other opera murder mysteries that are afoot. And when we were doing this together, it was really cool to be able to think about the dynamic of the subtlety of both relationships. Oh, Evan's back now. I'm going to bring him back in. I was just talking about like how cool the relationships were between not just John and Jillian's character, but John and Chris's character. Um,
yeah.
how did you all like was that based on your friendship with you and John? I know that there's like a lot of you and John in the show.
Yes, there are. I'm willing to say that there's some based on our friendship, so long as it's with the asterisk that nothing even close to anything like the ending has ever happened between us, nor will it. I hope.
That's good, yes, because you don't strike me as the murdery type.
I aim to not murder anyone, but that's the current plan.
Great.
Sorry. But yeah, I think that those there's I actually was thinking about that as I was rewatching it just now with everybody. That it's funny how there's a lot of John in John's character in this show. There's a little bit of me in every character in this show, and I think that's probably just the nature of writing, right? You, in order to speak from a perspective, you have to own some of that perspective, and
yes.
so I don't know. I think I was very concerned with the relationships between all three characters as I was writing the thing, and I was particularly concerned. I thought that the relationship between Daniel and Angelica would work itself out. That's a relationship we've seen before in opera in one way or another, and that the sort of brotherly love relationship, at least we start off feeling between Daniel and Doyle before there's some perversion to it as the story goes on. That's one I felt like was very organic for me and easy to come up with because of John and I's relationship and because we were working on this story together. I was very concerned and wanted to make sure that I got the power dynamic and relationship right between Doyle and Angelica. Because it's interesting in that they've both sort of taken this secondary role to Daniel, but when they interact, even in the first scene when Daniel goes and takes that phone call, and we see the first time that Doyle and Angelica are interacting on their own, that's the first time in the opera we've had a power dynamic we're not really sure of, because they don't have an established who's the sort of alpha in that relationship.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day that it's that Angelica really is, but Doyle really hoped he was.
Right.
As we sort of saw that play out in the end.
Yeah, I know that when we were staging it, that, like being such an advocate for the queer community, I was just like, Chris, I wouldn't be upset if there was like a subtext of like blurred lines of like what type of love Doyle had for Daniel. And I think Chris really like floated that line so beautifully. And it was like, it was very much an infatuation, even if it was never like a sexual romance. It was very much, he was so infatuated to become obsessed. And I just think that Chris did such a beautiful job with that. And it's easy to be smitten with John, so
yes.
he makes it easy.
I will say, I think that that sort of all the kudos to Chris on that, because John and Jillian got saddled with roles that were written for them and that I had them in mind for the whole time. And that comes with its own challenges and its own expectations. But Chris was stepping into a role that was not written for him, wasn't conceived. He wasn't conceived in the process at all. And so then he stepped into this role, and from the very first rehearsal, he walked in knowing exactly what Doyle needed to be, and he was so spot on with the character. I remember in our very first music rehearsal, Steve said something, and Chris started arguing with him about the character of Doyle in like a wonderful, polite Chris way, but he just I was about to go to bat on a point for Doyle that I thought needed to go to bat, and Chris spoke up before me, and he was like, no, that's not Doyle. Doyle is, and he just said it, and I was like, yes, you got the right Doyle. This guy gets it.
Yeah, when the three of us, me, you, and Steve, were workshopping the piece, that's what I was like. I hope it's okay. Like, I know the perfect Doyle. And I just did, like, in learning your piece, I was just like, oh, this, I've known Chris for years. He and I went to graduate school together at Westminster Choir College, and he's also one of my dearest friends. And then I just knew that he would bring Doyle to life in the best and scary way possible. I just, it's like, when there are humans like myself, I always end up getting to play all the bad roles. It's like the nicest people are really great at playing horrible characters. I don't know why that works, but he just has that breadth of an actor to be able to sink his teeth in.
Yeah, I think there's something in the people who never get to enact certain things in real life because it's just so different than how they actually are. Part of what makes them good actors is that they're then gleeful about getting to bring that onto stage, even though it's just so foreign to them personally.
Yes, but I think that also he sure did. I think that also ties into, like, we're all a bunch of self-diagnosed nerds, right? We all play Dungeons and Dragons. And that's how I even got my introduction to Dungeons and Dragons, was through Chris and our mutual best friend Zach. And just to have that imagination, right, to really inhabit a character. I think that, like, in my teaching now, I'm like, who all plays imagination games? I'm like, if you still don't have, like, that childlike access to imagination, it's hard to even conceptualize a role like that, right? And so, like, getting the opportunity to just jump into different characters, like in a weekly campaign, is lovely because it just keeps you on your toes and you get to have so much fun and play and have joy. And I think that a lot of academic situations have, like, kind of, like, sucked the life out of that part of actors. And so I'm just so grateful that we were able to do this with, like, a bunch of humans who have just imagination, because it really does serve the piece. I would love to talk about how I got so excited about, like, when we got into the space at Planet Ant. Derek was just such a lovely human to work with. And then I just kept seeing in my mind's eye. I remember even in the rehearsal room, I'd be like, I need the crime scenes to be part of the audience. Yeah. I needed it to be so immersive, so that way the audience really felt like they were able to be privy to those crime scenes. And I thought that really read in a beautiful way.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and for the people who were actually there in person, it ended up being so close. I mean, the front row could reach out and grab that police tape. And thank goodness they didn't.
I know.
It was tricky enough to navigate without, right?
I know. We do, all of us have a bunch of feisty friends, and they were like, and I'm like, please look, just no touching, don't cross the police tape. Yeah. So yeah, and that was fun for our assistant director, Lauren. She got to do all of those crime scenes. And then we actually had an artist come in and do a lot of the, like, chalk drawings in there too. Yeah. So it was so lovely. Oh, John is back with us. John, do you want to hop in and talk with us for a little bit? Oh, okay, great. Yay, John! Hi, John. Welcome back.
Hey, everybody. I look a little different.
You look so beautiful.
Oh, yes, I know, with my Harry Potter glasses.
Same. I did a glasses change for tonight. I felt very, like, emo. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, hi, Jillian. Welcome back. Just doing some Q&A. Yeah, we were just talking about the amazingness of Chris Hodson and how he just really claimed the role of Doyle, specifically for a role, like Evan mentioned, that wasn't written for him. You all had the lovely opportunity of having these roles written for you, and then Chris just, like, claimed Doyle.
He was absolutely incredible. I remember, Evan, I don't know if you remember this, our voice teacher, Richard Fracker, was psychotherapist before he was a professional opera singer at the Metropolitan Opera. And he came up to us and he said, in scene 1, I knew Chris was the murderer because he did such an incredible job acting a sociopath. And he said, and I
Wow.
caught it from like his third line, and I watched in awe as Chris made acting choices that were clearly sociopathic, but you could easily read them as like very nice things to say. And I'll never forget that because it was like, yeah, absolutely.
I didn't
this was
know
coming from
that.
somebody who did 10 years of character work at the Metropolitan Opera, and so if Chris didn't get that message from us, there was really high praise for his acting.
Oh yeah.
We need to make sure. I don't know if I didn't even hear that. I'm just hearing it now for the first time. So yeah, we need to make sure that Chris knows that. What a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, since the audience isn't on here to say it, but you two have appeared on the stream. I know it was 3 years in the past, but bravo.
Bravo!
It was fun to watch, I'll say. And we were live texting with our friend Marina. It was awesome. We were like pointing out little themes and little mistakes, and the time where John decided not to sing notes, or
I said the wrong name.
She said Doyle, or repeated that line over and over because she couldn't remember the words.
It's funny, all those mistakes just come flooding right back.
Yeah.
I could probably perform most of it memorized tomorrow. Most of it.
Yeah. It was it was such a interesting time, and there was like so much happening in my life at the same time that like I want to get my hands on this again, because like I just want to be like present in this like world, this like story world again. But yeah, we were also talking, John and I have had a couple conversations, and I know Evan and I have too, about like next iterations and how we would like to potentially cast not that Evan Ross didn't do a fabulous job as the captain, but for inclusivity, we would love to maybe do a female voice, since it is such a male heavy role. So yeah, and I don't know if John shared with you, but I definitely want to share the captain's aria with Rihanna Thelwell, who is a huge moto performer. She did Florence Pike with us. She did Quickly in Falstaff, and she's just like this force contralto to be reckoned with. And just to have like, I know, I was like, oh yeah, we need to make that happen. And we actually would also love to like take this on the road, like as like a unit of like, this is the team, this is how we want to like do future iterations, and then like to be able to do it in like cool spots, just like Planet Ant. That's the great thing, is like this show is so diverse, like not diverse, but like it's easily mobile and accessible to like found space, or even to be on a grand opera stage. There's so many ways that it can be done.
I would love to do it. Oh, go ahead, Evan.
Oh, I was going to say, I think some of it comes in that not this isn't even meant as self-praise so much as there's an awful lot of what goes on in the opera is just in the text and the music. It doesn't need a lot of bells and whistles. There's a lot of sort of big grand opera that if you take away the big and grand out of it, it loses an awful lot. But it's nice that because of the nature of murder mystery, like you just have words and you get the music to give you that extra context, and it carries it most of the way.
Yeah. I would also love to eventually do this like as a traveling show. Like if there was one space where we had like access to many different rooms, where we could set the crime scenes up in the different rooms, and then the audience would travel with Daniel to the crime scene. I know, right?
But like an escape room where the audience has to figure it out if they ever want to leave.
Whoa.
And 3 lucky audience members get murdered.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Moto doesn't condone murder.
We are joking.
We're joking. Yeah.
Again, second
Yes.
Really joking.
I say I'm
Yeah.
not for anybody.
John, what were you going to say before Evan was talking about that last piece?
Oh,
do you remember?
I want really badly the next iteration of this to have an upscaling in the orchestration, whether it's piano and strings and solo instrument. Because I know Evan originally conceived of it that way to make it easy, so you don't have to, beg a whole opera company to do it. You say like, well, we just need a string quartet, an oboe, a French horn, and I forget the other, a cello. Well, no, that's in the quartet. There's a third instrument to represent each of the three, of the main people.
There was horn, oboe, and then you use the piano and the strings probably.
Oh, right.
That was what I had talked about.
I'd like to do that next layer, because that would just add a lot, I think, to the just the beauty of the background score and everything. And then
most definitely.
Someday
I think it was
the grand opera too, but
yes, I mean obviously. I think because of definitely the Planet Ant like scale and the size of that room, your voices were already so overwhelming to that space, because usually they do, they do other shows there, they do improv, they do rock bands. It wasn't something that necessarily was set up for a live acoustic.
Sure.
But I do think that too, it would, to be able to have a space where we could have those things and then also have the space for the murders. It couldn't be like a traveling show that way. But I was thinking, since John has been doing so much incredible recording, that we could definitely record like the whole show and then use the tracks for the traveling show.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm very into this idea.
Same. Because COVID has, COVID is horrible. We all know. This has been so traumatic in so many ways. I have been teaching online for this whole time for Wayne State, which has been a blessing, because thank God for work, right? Since I can't be singing. And I've learned so much about how we can marry some of the things that we've had to adapt, like using tracks, but still paying incredible professional artists to make the score come alive, but then to be able to use it in a cool, fun, new, funky way of marrying it with a traveling show, like a Sleep No More kind of situation, by marrying it with the tech of it, right? Having cool technology. And then when you're in a space where you can have the live aspects and elements, you do that too. So I think that's why one of the many reasons I love this piece is because of how it excites my imagination of all the different ways that I would love to do it.
Well, I certainly don't object to anything that's been said.
Well, let me try and work my magic. I sometimes find myself tripping onto people who are willing to help with these kind of projects, and so that would be incredible. Especially, I mean, I think I'm understanding you correctly when you're saying tracks. You mean hire some session instruments that go in and they would record each part that would get layered in, and then we would actually, all we'd have to do is press play, and then we could do everything else ourselves.
Yes.
Kind of like a Broadway show often does.
Yes. Yeah, and then especially with the traveling show, right? Because each room would need speakers that would come into it, and there would be a hub of somebody with monitors to know when to start the tracks for that scene.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and then because Operamoto has we have our app, right? Then we can use the app to tell them where to go, and have even an interactive map, or there's so many cool ways that we can use the app within that too.
And the lighting stuff per room. I don't know if sorry, I cut out. There's a museum called Meow Wolf that Jillian and I went to in Santa Fe that was made by George R.R. Martin, right? Jillian, the guy who wrote Game of Thrones, and it's an interactive adult art facility that has, each room is a different theme with different colors and stuff, and you accidentally follow your way into these different scenes, and actually the main thing is some kind of mystery you can solve. And so I mean, my imagination is going crazy right now, but stuff already exists that we could partner with,
right,
and or just go to there are millions of those church buildings that have 5 rooms that connect to each other, and they're all just big open empty rooms.
Yeah, and to be able to like take up residence and not like have it be like the a capacity for evil experience, right? Where it's like it like runs for a couple of iterations, and like you have like
So cool.
you have like four casts of each, which is easy because it's a four-person show, and like then you can even do like multiple shows a night, even if you wanted to. So, I mean, I think it's a really cool way to, we had this discussion last night with Jesse De Silva, who was our Carmen, about opera being dead. And when I get into a room with the two of you and the three of you with Jillian, I know that opera is not dead, right? Like I know it's not at all because we have brains like ours who are thinking the way that we do that really want to turn opera into something that is so exciting for our generation and for the generations to come, to show them that like it really doesn't have to be that, and it can be that, and that is great, and that serves a purpose, but like we have so many things and ways to storytell within this
Yes.
medium
Yeah.
that
And
are so exciting, and it does pair well with technology, contrary to popular belief.
Well, and I also, one of my big things that I've been saying is I want to erase the boundaries that the generations before us put so strictly between things. I don't understand why we can't, with this kind of singing and this kind of music, do exactly what Broadway does and do exactly what theater does and just give you a beautiful night that you'll remember. And,
Yes.
What makes it opera? What's the difference between Les Mis and microphone? Okay, that's a small difference, though. I mean, you could still have lots of technology, good acting, good-looking people. I mean, the fact that they like the assumptions about us are so crazy.
Right.
I just want to erase all these boundaries. Let us have fun and do stuff like you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think
Entire
too.
exhibit.
Well, and I think too, like I can hear Doyle being sung by a music theater tenor.
Totally.
Like there's so many cool voices that could meld into this music, especially if it's done at a more intimate space. Like it doesn't have to necessarily have quite the operatic quality. And I mean, like both you and Jillian and Chris, all three of you are crossover artists, into music theater. And I think that everybody saw tonight, like we got the best of both of your instruments, because you don't try to say, okay, I'm singing an opera now. No, you're all just, and Evan too, you're just incredible storytellers. And whatever the story asks of your instrument is what you allow it to do.
Yes.
Right?
Amen.
I'm a huge proponent. I am.
The word. The word.
Yeah.
No, we're just trying to communicate something, and I don't feel like we need to be all like, oh no, but it's opera, so now I need to go like, then Jesus was led by the Spirit. Like, no, I'm not singing in Italian. I can sing like me, and then when I'm singing in Italian, I sing like me anyway because.
Amen.
But the language is Italian.
Like Italian. Let's be clear.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so lovely.
I had a thought, and I think Evan and I talked about this before. But an interesting concept too for one of the casts. I mean, if you had four casts, let's say, obviously you have the basic cast that we originally wrote. Then you have a cast where the sergeant is a contralto. Then I think it would work just as well to have a cast where Doyle is named Darla or something, and she's a color true soprano, because that adds such an interesting twist on that. Because soprano's the villain, and she could possibly have something weird for Daniel, and that would totally add into this through, and there could be contention between Angelica and Darla or whatever.
Yeah,
it would be so interesting.
Well, that's how I like. Remember, I had asked Chris to add that subtext in anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that it, like switching that out for a female presenting human would be incredible. This is another thing that we were talking about with Jessie, because Jessie is non-binary. I am very queer and have non-binary roots. Like, we are trying to show that these roles don't have to be cis normalized, right? That they can have all of these beautiful breadth of accessibility and inclusion, what with having all of these iterations. And like, if other composers were as lovely as Evan to be able to even say, like, these are all the options, like, even in the score, like, these are all the options that you can use for casting, like, that makes it more marketable for when schools want to do it. Because, like, everybody knows that, like, at every school, like 80% of the humans there are female presenting, right? And so to be able to like have a show that has all of these opportunities for women, like, would be amazing. I mean, like, obviously my name is Danielle. I'm the female version of Danielle, so having a female Danielle wouldn't be a problem to me either.
No, not at all. They're just gonna have to fight me for it.
I mean, I'm not singing those bees, girl, so if anything, I'll be that captain, but I'm not singing those bees. Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's a long, joyous journey. All the high notes that Evan so kindly gave me. I asked
yes. Oh no, Evan is frozen again. I'm gonna take him out for just a second. I know, I do too. At least he was frozen on a smile. I took him out for just a second while he gets, he's had to do it once before, and he'll come back and join us.
Okay. Well, for our audience, there is a little comment place if you have any questions for Evan, Danielle, myself, Dillian, Roman is asleep. But you just literally write a comment on the page and we'll see it. And we can answer your question live for you.
Which would be amazing.
We'll just keep hanging out because we haven't gotten to hang out in a long time.
I know. Here comes Evan. Yay!
I'm back.
Yay, buddy.
I had a lovely interruption where you both were laughing, and then the laugh just extended out for infinity. And I was like, oh no, that's something on my end. Well, I'm just going to close this and open it back up.
Yeah, and you froze with this beautiful smile, so it was perfect. Oh, there was something that Evan and I had talked about maybe talking about. I know we talked about a little bit about the development of the story during the live performance. So, like, what was the exact timeline? Like, how many years was it from when you all first had this idea to when we went into production?
Ooh, good question. 2013.
Yeah.
2013 is when he made the melody, the love melody in our apartment, and it was the end, right? It was toward the winter of 2013.
Yeah, it would have been either very late fall or like November-ish, October or November 2013.
Because I had also just begun my grand weight loss that followed. Because Evan was like my cat. He worked out with me and took me outside like a dog and played frisbee and would do push-ups with me in the living room. And we conveniently lived a literal 3-step outside walk to the apartment gym, and we would go for hours and just walk on the treadmill or do the elliptical or whatever. And I remember that vividly because I then lost 70 pounds over the course of the year. And it started with Evan. It always starts with Evan. Jillian.
Yeah,
and kind of started with capacity too, because there was an awful lot of talking about this opera on those treadmills.
There absolutely was.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a buddy and when you have a great conversation, it's so easy to just like be there and like be present because you're like having these gorgeous conversations, and then like wahoo, you're like working out at the same time.
An hour and a half. That's a lot.
So then timeline from there. That was like fall 2013. We have bum pum pee pee bee dee 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 basta. That's all the music. And then we storyboarded and we planned out 7 scenes of this thing, and we talked a lot about why it should look like what it looked like.
Yeah.
And then there was quite a break from there.
There was.
Because I went to grad school to start grad school in voice, though my voice wasn't doing so well at the time. And John got a young artist position down in Shreveport, and it was probably 2015 by the time I had taken a break from school, a break that never unbroke. But
I remember that phone call.
Yeah, I had temporarily pulled out of my master's in voice, which I was doing over in Wales, and so temporarily pulling out of it meant, like moving continents. And I came back here and was trying to get things sorted out with my health, and I started composing sort of to like cope with the fact I couldn't sing and I didn't have like any artistic outlets, and I was going a little nuts. I
remember specifically around this time, Evan would call me and we would talk through the story, and we would go back and forth on libretto, like specific sentences even. It got to a point where he would say, okay, I'm going to read you some sentences and I want your honest opinion. And then we started going back and forth step by step through the libretto. And that first summer in 2015, after I left Shreveport, I actually came and stayed with you at your mom's house for weeks. 3 weeks? I don't know. Was it only for capacity? My brain.
It may have been that we were in the Fracker show together.
That may have been it. But we were in a show then in Lansing, and we spent all day, every day, into the wee hours of the morning, just hanging out, talking through this. Sorry, I've got a cat butt right here.
Chester.
And we would go on these long walks around his mom's neighborhood. I remember that, and occasionally jogs when he was feeling okay, and going through the very specifics. And we had long conversations because it was Evan's sister, Lindsay, younger sister, who brought up a couple really problematic things that we accidentally did in the plot, especially in regards to Angelica. And she
gave it to us. And
made some big adjustments.
Everybody needs a Lindsay. Everybody needs...
Yeah.
And then we made some major adjustments at that point. And I believe the next year, and forgive me if I'm wrong, Evan, but over the next year, we started finishing entire scenes. Evan started composing entire scenes because he came to Shreveport in 2016, 2015.
There were a couple more things. One other thing that happened that summer that's, I suppose, probably important for the development of this thing was I went back to Siegel Music Colony, where I had gone before. They had their centennial gala that summer, and I went back they were very kind to me. I couldn't sing really at that point, and they gave me the only speaking role in their centennial gala, which was like heartbreakingly nice to me because I just missed performing so much. And I was like, I volunteered when they sent out the thing. I volunteered. I was like, I could be in the chorus. I can't really sing very well right now, but like, put me as a baritone and I'll like fake it. And like, I could fill in a little there. And they were like, yeah, that'd be great. Also, there's a speaking role. Here it is. And I was like, and so I went up there for a week and a half, and I did that. And I showed the libretto to Darren Woods, who's the general director out there, and who was at the time the general director of Fort Worth Opera. And I showed it to him because he asked what I'd been doing. He was like, "So you can't sing? You pulled out of school. What have you been doing?" And I was like, "I've been working on an opera." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "No, I've been writing a libretto for an opera, and then I think I'm going to write the music." And he was a little incredulous, and I gave him the libretto, and I said, if he wanted to read it, I'd love to hear his thoughts. And he came back to me the next day, and he goes, "So I just want a full disclosure. I was fully prepared to lie to you and tell you that this was good, because I think it's really important that you have something you're working on right now, and I think that's great. You found something you're passionate about, and I wasn't going to take that away from you. But I was thinking it wasn't going to be very good, and it is in fact very good. And so I wanted to tell you that I was going to lie to you about this, but now I'm not going. And it's you should make sure this becomes a thing." And he volunteered to send it off to some director friends of his and just get feedback and thoughts. And we got some lovely criticisms from people. And one that was very important we got from a man who I've never actually had the opportunity to work with other than this email exchange back and forth, but a director by the name of David Gately.
Right, I remember.
Who sent back an email. And we at the time had done this whole like film noir thing, but as set in present day, and it was literally set. It was set on the midnight of 1999, headed into 2000. And he sent back an email, and it was very complimentary about a bunch of things. And then he goes, "This piece feels like you're acting like it's the 1920s or the 1930s in the 1990s. Why is it not just in the 1930s?" And we both were like, "Oh, yeah. We
can do that."
Be. And then there was one specific point where Angelica having a cell phone was very important to the plot. And we did like 2 days of clever rewrites, and we looked at the thing and we were like, it's suddenly in 1935. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
the murder's more plausible, which we were like, okay, cool. Now it's more believable, because back then you could get away with a lot of stuff because you didn't have security cameras, you didn't have GPS tracking, you didn't have quick access to fingerprinting and stuff. That stuff all took a long time, and we only had 24 hours before, murder to murder in total, and so it made it much more believable. And I think we both agreed it was better that way, and we were very glad that a high-end professional looked at it and was like, "Hey, this will help."
Yeah, and I think the setting too is so refreshing because, yes, we want things to be relevant, but we also want things to be like a little escapey at the same time. And I think because it's like everybody has like either shows that they watched with their grandma or like even like Columbo, like stuff that's like there and like previous, like everybody has like that sense of like the film noir, like the detective's office, all of that. And when you all were mentioning storyboarding, I was like, we've had to do so much storyboarding because we've done virtual recording with my students at Wayne for our shows, because we're doing like an interactive musical, like a split live dialogue and then curated video. And so we've storyboarded each of the songs so we know how to film them. And so now I'm like, oh gosh, now do we do it? I think we should do a film of this. I'm like, okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. So stop coming up with good ideas and inspiring me.
You know what? We won't.
I know. Fine. I'll take it. It's good. I love inspiration. Nobody's given us any questions. Oh, no.
They're on their TV. The link.
Yes.
The link has you download an app that can be on your TV. Roku and
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It is hard to type a question on the television. I find it hard to type in the name of a YouTube video on the television. But...
Same, or even like my email is too long. It's my full name, and I'm like, why have I done this? I'm like, I need to start just like some email that's like 4 characters at gmail.com, and that just be with all of my subscriptions are on. Yay. Oh, good. We have Janie in the comments section. Hi, Janie. I'm wondering if she has a question for us. Yeah, while we're waiting on potentially Janie question, yeah, what are next steps? You have a current show that you're writing now, Evan, is that correct?
Yes. Asterisk. I have a piece that I started working on and has sort of been paused for the last year because, and this is not a complaint. I've had a lot of other opportunities and things I've been working on. I've had a wealth of professional opportunity in the last bit, and several things that were sort of gift horses I couldn't look in the mouth and continue working on the other show. So I do have a piece that's partway done. That's an opera that I would love to see go up on its feet at some point. But I think I'll probably have to find 4 or 5 months sometime where nobody else is paying me to write anything else, and or where somebody is enthusiastic about paying me to finish this, which would also be a great
Yeah. We could maybe, and find you like an artistic residency where you get to like be somewhere to like don't have distractions and you get paid to be there to finish it, because those do exist.
Yeah.
The one of the main things, if it's okay that I bring up, that you're doing for Tamara Wilson, who is a great friend of mine from Houston. She is a world-class soprano and an exquisite human being. Chef's kiss to that human. But you're doing like this
Amazing.
Cool. Yes. So you're doing this cool commission for her, right?
Yes. Actually, I just realized that.
It just happens to be right here.
Eyesight, you might get spoilers in the background that I should slide out of the way. It's state secrets. But I'm writing a piece for her right now, and I'm very excited about it. But it's a song cycle, though kind of a dramatic song cycle.
Because I'm going to want to stage it. I'm going to want to stage it at some point.
I hope. I also think that she's got a performance exclusivity clause on it for a year after it gets premiered. But after that, it's the kind of piece I imagine I will also transpose so that maybe other kinds of female voices might have a shot at it if they wanted.
Awesome.
But I guess for the people in the audience, just the 30-second elevator pitch on the piece and why I'm so excited about it is the whole song cycle is a spell book of spells for a modern practitioner of magic, things that it would be useful to have magic do in the 2020s in present day. And so it's this sort of mix of like hopeful, beautiful stuff and like silly off the wall stuff, and just this sort of collection of spells to cast to make life more palatable or more exciting, or and also because it's a spell book, it's fun. It's a little bit of a piecemeal piece in that you can puzzle piece together any direction through the cycle. There's a beginning and an ending and a whole bunch of middles that you can just sort of pick and
choose your own adventure.
Yeah, exactly. Which is fun.
That's awesome. I'm so excited about that. We do have a couple of questions. Thank you for telling us about that. Janie said, I'm assuming this is for John and Jillian. Do you avoid dairy before a big event in order to make your voice oh so lovely?
I do, actually. Not because dairy makes me particularly fun, but dairy is one of those things, like many things, that sits heavy in my stomach. And once adrenaline kicks in, I really don't like that feeling.
I just ate ice cream. So, quick answer is no, I don't. I can have dairy, and my baby's crying, so I gotta go get it.
Yeah, I also think that I don't have to avoid it. I think it depends on the human.
Yeah.
Right? Like my students are like, don't I have to avoid dairy? Shouldn't I have honey with lemon? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't live inside of you. Like, what's best for your human? I'm like, you'll trial by error.
I have to eat a ton before I perform, because as you might have noticed, I expend an enormous amount of energy.
Yeah.
And when I act, I come from an athletic background, and I just love using all of my energy. So I
Yeah.
so much. And I know some singers who can't eat because of flux or whatever, and I'm the other side. If I don't eat, I can't support my energy, and I
Mm.
out because I need.
Yes. Understood. We have two more questions. Follow-up question: if two opera singers are living in the same abode, how do you manage practice time? Are sound panels utilized?
I get told to shut up a lot. That's true. um, you know, it's interesting once you get to this point that we're in during the pandemic and everything. Really haven't been doing too much like vocalese practicing like I used to. Mostly because I've been working on other things, other projects, and putting together other programs. And a lot of that practicing can be done quietly. And also we have, I've learned ways to like sing into pillows and stuff to practice the way something feels, because I no longer need to know to hear it, to know how it's sitting in my voice, if that makes sense. And that's something that took me a long time to understand from voice lessons. You can try and hear how you're sounding all day, but it's how it feels in your body that really means it's lined up. And so we don't have any cool panels or anything, but sometimes I'll just go like, if it feels good in my body and my throat, I'm like, that's probably right.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we had a last question. Does singing opera affect your hearing?
I must admit, probably in my case, I've bad hearing, but I've always had bad hearing, and I think it's because I like loud music. Maybe why I went into opera. And the more loud music you're around, the worse your hearing gets. It's not bad enough to a point where I can't hear. Certainly, I have good hearing still, and I can hear pitch really well. I have very discerning pitch in that sense. But if Jillian and I were singing a duet and she pointed at me, it would be very loud, and I know that all the time. I'm actually more the one to blame on that, and that can have an effect.
I would bet it's also worse for the shorter duet partners, and normally the sort of female presenting the mezzos and the soprano sort of roles, because they're often placed in front of the other one in a sort of face the audience embrace, and then you have one mouth right up against the other ear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just going to need you to just shift it just this much. Like, because it's part of our instrument, right? Like, that's as much of our instrument, I would say almost as much as the throat itself, especially for, like, I do so much teaching, and, like, my ears are money, money, money. Thank you, Janie.
Most precious quantity.
I know. Yeah, Janie said, thank you for answering my questions. You all are wonderful. This has been a delightful evening. Thank you, Janie. And then we had, David Snyder wanted to let us know what a fascinating conversation it has been with the three of us, that he has followed the show pretty closely from its conception, and there is so much that he did not know. So we're glad to give him some insight. Awesome. Yay. Thank you, David. Cool. So I think we're good to wrap up. Any final thoughts from us? I can't wait to see you all in person and hug the snot out of you. Number one. Yes. I am full zombie. John just got his full zombie.
I get my second dose of zombie on Tuesday.
Yay! Here in the Moto house, we call zombie vaccination zombie. So, yeah, we're full zombies. So yeah, I think I'm super excited for hopeful next iterations of the show. Yeah, I think that number one, the show deserves it so much, and then two, I think that the balance of incredible personalities and humans that work on the show isn't over yet either. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're so grateful to have spent this time with you. We hope that you are safe and sound and healthy and happy, and we can't wait to perform live for you in person again soon. Thanks so much. Have a great evening.